Hi, welcome to Family History with Chris, and thank you for joining me today. I am Chris. We are coming up on Memorial Day weekend, and for that, uh, what my history is that we would always go visit graves, and uh, I remember in the mornings we'd get up, we'd go over to my grandma's house, and they had lilac bushes there, and so we would go pick lilac bushes. And then there were a few grave sites that we would go to, like Owen Ricks, who's my great grandfather. I remember doing that. As also, let's see. Then we would go down to Riverside, where my family settled, and this is where we would go visit. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Let's see. I think this is all in the same day. In the mornings, we would go to Fielding Memorial Cemetery in Idaho Falls. Um, Owen Ricks is there, and then uh, who else? Let's see. His wife. Well, yeah, my great grandma. However you want to say it. So, um, I remembered them, and then uh, later in the evening we would go to Riverside, and we would visit. Uh, there is Aaron Hatch, who was who was a he was, I think he fought in the Indian War. Uh, like Black Hawk Indian War or something like that. Uh, and then uh, I think it was William Henry Hatch, Charles Henry Hatch. Uh, you know what? Let's do this because hi. Yeah, not this. I'm sorry. Hold on just a moment. We'll have to. Nope, not that either. Let's get out of this. Sorry, that's just what I was watching. Google Maps. No, we are going to go to. Let's go to. Let's see. Family search. Let's check this out real quick. Not Roots Tech, although this is good if you want to see it. Um, let's see. FamilySearch.org. We'll just start. Guess you got to do it right, huh? How about if we do the login? Just like that. There's Ancestry. Family Search. Sign into your account. We'll do the sign in. Okay. Go up to the tree and I will show you. Okay. Then, when you sign into Family Search, you got your choices here. I usually go to this one. If you don't have that, there's always Google or Facebook, however you do it. And I can always do this better on my phone because it remembered my name and password. Oh man, what is my password? Maybe it's that. Okay, so starting with me, my dad, my grandpa. Okay, so we go up here. Yeah, I believe William Henry Hatch and Martha Hancock are up there. Charles Henry Hatch and Ada Louise Louder are there. Charles Irving. Uh, these are my grandparents, and they are now there. Charles Irving Hatch and Laverne. So, um, back in '92, I remember this. it was like Valentine's Day or close to it. I had school, and I found out that my grandpa had passed away, and my parents woke me up early because my youngest brother, he was still sleeping in the bed with the parents, and they just needed someone to sleep in the bed, and they had to go or whatnot. So I went over and slept in the bed so my youngest brother would be fine. Um, but yeah, it didn't really hit me until I was on the bus. I lived 5 miles outside of from school, and so we had a drive, and then it just hit me. Yeah, my grandpa passed away. Um, and then my grandma, yeah, she had a stroke or something like that, and then that kind of put her into a nursing home, and she hated that. I know she hated that, uh, but it was what it was, and it's too bad too, because yeah, and then I don't remember too well the day she died, like 90. Yeah, it was back in 96, so I was like 15 or something like that. I should remember better. Um, so anyway, they are all out at Riverside now. Owen C. Ricks and Sadie Ina Jacobs. They are in Fielding Memorial Cemetery. Uh, and now we have my grandparents, Ben Albert Free and Mona Nadine Ricks, and also my uncle Aaron um, is there with them. They were always together. It's just how it was. My uncle, when he was born, as far as I know. Now, if I'm wrong, or if you have any more information on this, uh, let me know. But he was born with too much fluid in the brain or something like that, and they had to drain it. So he was handicapped, and he had a small head, and stuff like that. But still a good. He was a great person. He was a good person to be around. Um, they were always together. I remember my grandma was the first one to die. Oh my goodness! So Grandma Free, she was a worry ward, and this is how I know it. Uh, so we tried not to tell her about our worries. For instance, there was a summer. It was right after I graduated from high school, so this is back in '99. I lived with my grandparents, and they asked me if I'd like to join them for scripture reading in the morning. It's like, yeah, sure. It was great. So we did. They always did scripture reading in the morning, and now one day I was talking to my grandma, and I worked at Music Care in Idaho Falls, and I was telling her about that my boss's birthday is coming up, and I was thinking about getting him a cake or whatnot. I was just going to go to the store and buy something. And as for me, I'm a person that likes to think about things for a while before I actually do anything. I probably wouldn't have done anything, but that night after work, I come home and found out my grandma made a cake for him. It's like, well, okay, I guess we're doing that. Very nice. We didn't try to tell her worries because I have an aunt that where my uncle cheated on her, and so they got divorced and stuff, and she was grandma was so worried about that, and then another uncle where my aunt left him, and she was always worried about that. And I remember my mom and dad talking about that. It's like, yeah, we try not to tell grandma our troubles just because she's got a lot on her plate anyway, and she'll worry about it. Anyway, I'm telling you this because, like, it was a good thing. Well, like, summer of 2008, um, she found out that she had cancer, and it 1 week, it just, you know, that's all she had was one week after that. It just really took her. Uh, Things I do remember about that is she waited for my uncle John um, to come. All the kids, they had 12 kids, I think. Yep, 12 kids. They were all there. Um, we sang hymns and things like that. I remember that. It was just sad because they put her in the living room. Uh, Apparently, she was on a hospice or something. Put her on a bed in the living room where they would put the Christmas tree. Well, the couch was usually there, but where they put the Christmas tree and the train set and stuff like that. But that's where she was. And so my mom stayed at their house during the night and stuff. And apparently my grandma was in and out. And I believe this was a Saturday. And how my sister would told me is like, my mom was, I don't know how better to say it, but she's a sweetheart. And it is kind of nonchalant, naive. I don't know, but my sister was with my mom during that night, and then they were in my grandparents' bedroom and stuff. And the door would open, and then it was shut and stuff. And my sister's like, "What was that?" And my mom's like, "Oh, that's just mom. She's checking on us." Just simple like that. And it's like, wow. So Uncle John came in, and our families around the whole United States. We got back east. I think that's where Uncle John is, and then my other uncle, Uncle Scott, I think he's from Minnesota and stuff. And most of us are around Utah and Idaho and things like that. But we all got in, and it was very nice. And I hope I'm staying on the right track. But like Sunday morning, she was getting better, and there was to be a baby blessing. Now my grandparents never they never missed baby blessings. So yeah, it was, and I believe, yeah, it was a baby blessing. So they were getting ready to go to church. Everybody went to church. Uh, my mom was saying that things were calming down and stuff like that. Well, so my mom went home to go take a shower and things. And so everybody was leaving. It was time to go to the baby blessing, and that's when my grandma went too. So I don't think she missed the baby blessing. Anyway, and I remember I had to go to church. My oldest was still a baby, and we were librarians at the time at church and stuff. And then I found out, oh, grandma had passed. Now my grandpa, story about him is I remember a family reunion where okay, so we all got together and we were telling about our talents and stuff. and his talent was he could name all his grandkids or everyone in the family. Holy cow, you're talking about 12 families. Yeah, about 12 families with around 5 kids each, some more, some less. Um, so, yeah, it kind of took a little while. But after he did it, he named everyone. And then, like for as long as it took, all the little kids were getting bored. They were starting to take off and stuff like that. But he did it, and after that, I noticed that he started getting dementia and stuff like that, and uh, it was kind of sad to see that. Um, so anyway, after that, he got dementia, and my youngest brother thought it was the greatest thing because he figured he would tell Grandpa a story, and if he didn't get it right, then he could just or ask a question. If he didn't get it right, he had a second chance. Or if he was asked a question and he could change the answer until it was right. Anyway, that was kind of weird. Anyway, um, so my grandpa he uh, got to stay with my aunt Kathy for a while, and he ended up in the Gables. Some things I don't know if everyone knows about him, but I thought it was interesting. He got himself a girlfriend there, but here he is. I was delivering his meds to him, and one day he was with his girlfriend, and he told me all about it. It's like, this is my girlfriend. Like, okay, Grandpa, whatever. And honestly, I think Grandma was okay with it. It's like, whatever. He just he wasn't in the right. I don't think he wasn't in the right mind. However, he died February 29th at 5 p.m. I know this because I was supposed to deliver meds. Um, and my mom was able to go that day, and he was more lucid uh, than most days. And there he told his um, told my mom, to take care of everyone, and uh, my mom can tell it better. And I probably ought to write this down. That's one thing with family history is, if you get these stories, write them down, because you never know in the generations to come who is going to want to know these things. So anyway, February 29th at 5 p.m., I was getting ready to go get meds, and there was a call, told us don't worry about it because he just passed and stuff like that. So my thoughts was it was 5 o'clock. That was dinner. Um, I remember going to my grandparents' house, and 5 o'clock, my grandma would make all our stuff, scratch cook food, but she would only use one pot, so it's easier to clean up, I guess. Um, and they fed me a few times while I was in doing wrestling and stuff like that. They lived right behind the Sand Creek Middle School, and so I would walk over there so my mom could come get me after she was done with work or whatnot. And anyway, let's see. Going back to my grandpa, 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock was dinner, and I believe that Grandma called for dinner, and so he came. At that time, I also had talked to one of the people who worked there at the Gables, and he was taking Grandpa for a walk, and he basically said that Grandpa said he needed to sit down and rest. And he's like, okay, because he was doing pretty good, but they were going for a walk, and then sat down and just went. So, it, I don't know what's right or not, but my beliefs is that he was called home for dinner. I do believe that he was going for a walk, and that's how he went, and stuff like that. So, uh, but it sticks out to me because it was May 29th. How often does that happen? May 29th, 5 p.m. Um, it's kind of weird how things stick out. Anywho, uh, Memorial Day, we'd go visit the Rickses. Now we would go visit the Frees. And since I'm not in Idaho, I don't get to. It's kind of a little harder when you're like 18 hours away to go visit the graves and stuff. But I know there is a Find a Grave, and they've got all the pictures of the grave sites and stuff like that. I haven't done anything. In fact, let's see if we can do that. Yeah, and so Aaron Francis Hatch, I think was a brother to William Henry. Either brother to William Henry or Charles Henry. I suppose we can just check this out. It's like, what's this? Mary Jane Hatch. Maybe it's right here. Charles Henry. Aaron Francis, right there. The Black Hawk Indian War, I believe. 3 memories. Hey, there's a picture. Great. Yeah, so he was in the armed services. Let's see if there's any memories. Just some pictures. My dad has some information. When I get that, I will go ahead and post that. Good to know what he looked like. And I bet you that's Charles right there. Charles. Nope. I was totally wrong. And that's why we have this. Very good. Anywho, I hope you all have a good Memorial Weekend. Don't forget the veterans, and remember your family. I think I've talked long enough here. So with that, we will catch you on another one. Thanks. Bye.